My name is Candy and this is Cotton by Candy. As this is the first video I will be posting on my new channel, I thought the best way to start off would be with an introduction. As I'm hoping to focus on fashion and craft and especially sewing, what better way to start off than with the Seamstress tag. So the Seamstress tag was started by a YouTuber who I'm sure you've all seen before. Her name is Holly Dolly, and this tag was kind of the way that I found the sewing community here on YouTube. And I knew as soon as I started watching everyone's videos that this was something that I really was hoping to be a part of. So thank you so much to Holly for starting this tag and introducing me to the world of sewing on YouTube. So let's get started. I have all of my answers written down here. So question number one is, who are you? My name is Candy. I turned 26 last week. I'm originally from Wellington in New Zealand, but I've been living in Osaka, Japan for the last 2.5 years. I live here with my partner, who is also a Kiwi, and I teach English as a second language to pay the bills. Question number two is, when and why did you start sewing? So much like a lot of other people who sew, my mother always sewed when I was growing up. She made a lot of my clothes when I was young and my doll clothes, and she made all of the soft furnishings in my room, so it never really occurred to me that not sewing was a thing that people did. When I was 7 or 8 I was given a little toolbox with all of the sewing basics, like my little kit with some starter patterns for doll and bear clothes, some tiny little fabric stash and trimmings and all of that, which was put together by my parents and by my godmother. And I still have that, I still use that when I lived in New Zealand. So I think the first thing I sewed was a little green pincushion with a lace trim on it, which I hand sewed all of the little seams on it, and then I turned it out and I did my corners and I pressed it, and it has been ready to be stuffed and finished for the last 20 years. One day I'll get there. And from there I went on to hand sewing my doll clothes and my bear clothes, and eventually got the opportunity to do fashion technology in high school, where I learned about reading patterns and that kind of thing. And eventually, after high school, I studied garment construction and pattern design at a polytechnic college in New Zealand. Alright, question number 3 is, what is your favourite or proudest make? So usually whatever I've just finished is the thing I'm proudest of, and I will wear it 3 or 4 times that week and wait for people to comment on it so that I can say thank you, I made it. But really the thing that filled me with the most pride was when I was studying, and eventually we'd gotten to the point where we were making skirt slopers from our own measurements, and from the basic pencil skirt that you get off of a sloper, we were taught how to you know, go from a sloper to the design that you wanted. And the skirt that I designed was a tulip skirt with a wide waistband, and it fit me so perfectly from just the very first 12. And I made, I think, 2, maybe 3 of those skirts, and every time I wore them, like, they were just the most comfortable thing I'd ever worn because they fitted me so well. And it really made me feel like this is a thing that everyone should be doing. Like, why would you buy clothes when you can make clothes that fit you like this? So that was definitely a proud moment, was making something that fit me so perfectly. Alright, so on the flip side of that is, what is your most disastrous make? So in high school I first discovered Japanese fashion, and specifically Lolita fashion, and I was completely obsessed with Gothic Lolita. So there was a very misguided attempt at, I guess, like a Gothic Lolita jumper skirt. But I used black satin and like really cheap chiffon to make the frills, and it wasn't at all like a Lolita shape. It was a princess seams dress, and I don't know, just the combination of fabrics was awful. And it's definitely not something that I would ever pull out to show people, and thankfully it's in New Zealand so I don't have to show you it now. But yeah, that was pretty disastrous, but it did fit me. So I guess that's an achievement. Alright, question number 6 is, where is your favourite place to go fabric shopping? So this depends entirely on where I am. So when I was living in Wellington, New Zealand, there was a fabric wholesaler, I guess. They were called the Fabric Warehouse, and they would do a pop-up shop twice a year on like one of the main streets in Wellington, where they sold everything for $5 a metre and under, and that included 100% wools, 100% silks, lots of interesting stretch materials, and just loads of cool stuff. So every time that came up, it was only there for 1 week, and I would make sure to get down there 2 or 3 times, and my stash just exploded every time I went there. In Japan, the best place to go fabric shopping by far is Nippori Fabric Town in Tokyo, which is an entire like little district that is 100% fabric and craft shops, which is just as amazing as you can imagine. There are shops that specialize in buttons, there are shops that specialize in leather, you can just find everything that you could possibly think that you might need there, as well as a lot of things that you definitely don't need. And in Fabric Town, the best place for me to go fabric shopping, because I am a total cheapskate, there's a place called Tomato, where they have a lot of fabric, which is 100 yen a meter, including knits, and knits are often really expensive here, so that's like a gold mine for me. And I can get up to 40 kilograms of fabric shipped to my house in a different city for $15, which is Japan service, man, it's awesome. But unfortunately I do not live in Tokyo and I can only visit occasionally. So here in Osaka, my favorite place to go fabric shopping is a big shop called Otsukaya, which is on the subway line that I take to get to work, so that's convenient but a little dangerous. It's a really big place. I think it's 5 or 6 floors tall, and it's not like super cheap, but they have a sale table, so I go there to check out mostly wovens that they have, in a ton of cute prints, like, you know, Japanese fabrics, you know, they're adorable. But yes, I do not do a lot of fabric shopping online, mostly because the two countries I've lived in are New Zealand and Japan, and neither of them have very good options for shipping, and I like to touch the stuff before I buy it. Alright, question number 6. What is my most used pattern? There is only one pattern I've used more than once, and it is like a 50s influence kind of fit and flare dress with some various bodice options, but I don't know the pattern company, I don't know the pattern number because it's in New Zealand. So I'm hoping to get my pattern shipped over to me sometime this year, and when it does happen, I will make a video devoted to that pattern probably, because I've made it 3 times and I love it. Aside from that, I've never made anything more than once. I'm very much a one make wonder kind of a person. Alright, question number 7. What is my most dreaded sewing task? This is kind of a difficult question for something that I'm supposed to love, like this is my main hobby. I really don't like a lot of the bits of it, but I've narrowed it down. I really don't like unpicking, which like no one likes unpicking, but I really feel like you're being reminded of your mistake, like every stitch that you undo, like you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up. So I really don't like that part of it. And it's also a reason why I don't like refashion a lot of my clothes, because I've noticed a lot of like the refashions that people tend to do involve unpicking existing seams, and I'd much rather cut out fabric and make a new thing. That's something I'm hoping to change this year though. And the last thing I loathe with a passion is tracing patterns. At the moment, the only patterns that I have come out of Japanese sewing books, and they all require a ton of tracing, and I don't have the space or the right equipment or any of the right stuff for it, and it is just a pain in my ass every time. So I really don't like tracing patterns. It is just a time suck and it's frustrating. Alright, question number 8. On the flip side, what is your favorite sewing task? So I really like ironing and like doing the final press on my pieces. I feel like once you've pressed any part of your garment, it really takes it from looking homemade to looking handmade, like looking much more professional. And by the same token, I really like top stitching and understitching. I really feel like those kind of finishing touches are what make your clothes look store-bought and not, you know, whipped up at home in an hour. Alright, question number 9. What is your favorite sewing entertainment? While I'm sewing, I try not to watch sewing YouTube because I tend to actually start watching that instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So something that I can kind of tune out a little bit, like Project Runway is one of my favorites. Also audiobooks, usually like trashy fantasy or something. Alright, question number 10. The controversial printed or PDF patterns. So printed wins by a long shot for me. I will cut out the whole nest of all of the sizes and then fold all of the edges down to whichever size I'm using so that I can use every size in the pattern, and I never trace those off, and I use pattern weights and no pins so that they don't get torn or become unusable. Next would be PDF. I don't actually mind the sticking. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do think it's quite nice to have something that's a little bit sturdier, you know, the like printer weight paper rather than the tissue. And PDF's great, of course, because you can print it off again and again in however many sizes, and you can hack up your bits and change things and stuff, so that's great. And definitely last is tracing off patterns from books, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of great books. I have some books with really great patterns in them, but the tracing is the devil. It really kills me every time. Question number 11, what sewing machine do I use? So I have a Singer Mon Ami, which is a Japanese Singer. It's, I don't know, 40 or 50 years old. I got it from a second-hand shop, and it is sturdy and heavy and it goes fast, which was my most important thing when I was looking for a machine. I don't have an overlocker here in Japan. Alright, question number 12, last question. Do I have any other hobbies? I have so many hobbies, like anything creative. I can knit, but I don't, but I do like to crochet because it's faster. I guess I'm kind of an impatient crafter. I've been piecing together jewellery like chokers and earrings and that kind of thing recently. I like making like little felt creatures. Yeah, anything that involves making something with a finished product I'm a big fan of. I also play video games when I've kind of gotten to a frustrating point in a project and I need to take a break. And I don't know if this really counts as a hobby because it's kind of like a life maintenance thing when I'm living here, but I also study Japanese a lot. I try to spend a few hours every week doing that so that I can communicate with the people around me. Yeah, so that's all the questions. That's me. Thank you for sitting through that. So in future videos I will be talking about alternative fashion, specifically Japanese fashion, and my struggle with Japanese sewing books and sewing and craft in Japan in general. And I tend to do like a lot of kind of quirky, unusual projects, so if you're interested in all of that good stuff, please subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!